You're clean, aren't you? Except for your tower. You're a tower junkie, Roland.
Okay, so, let me go ahead and bring this up. Hello, and welcome to Tower Junkies, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. I did not update the wording on here. Okay, here we go. No, that's weird. I'm so sorry. This is something for the gag reel. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Tower Junkies, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. If this is your first time listening, Tower Junkies is a podcast celebrating the work of Stephen King with a special focus on his magnum opus, the Dark Tower series. We discuss the themes, characters, and mythology of the series in Palaver episodes, and review the books and comic series in Kef episodes. We also discuss non-Tower King novels, TV and film adaptations of King's work, and the latest news about all things that serve the King. You can find more of our work at TowerJunkiesPod.com and follow us on every level of social media at TowerJunkiesPod. I am one of your hosts, Matt Hurt, and with me today is...
Tiny. That's me.
That's him.
Hey, guys.
Hey, guys. Okay, I'm done.
I wasn't sure if you were going to want me to introduce myself. Or...
I don't know, because I pointed at you but we never do that. So.
I know, we don't.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm here with Tiny. Tiny, how's it going?
Good.
Good.
Bueno.
Yeah. Dude, what did you say?
Bueno.
Oh, good. Nice.
I don't know.
We just recorded a special Patreon exclusive content thing where we talked about fantasy podcast ideas.
Right.
So check that out at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer if you want to get access to an exclusive RSS feed with us just bullshitting and everything. We have a lot of content on there. Minimum rate of $1 per month gets you access to an RSS feed. Load that onto your podcast app. You get access to, at this point, probably 10 or 12 hours worth of fun content and everything. So it's fun. Check that out. And it gives us money, so that's good too.
Yeah.
So today on the podcast, we are finally going to be reviewing the new film adaptation of Stephen King's Pet Sematary. This movie came out in April, and it just recently came out on home video. And we are finally going to be reviewing it at long last. So super excited for that. I do have some housekeeping to attend to, Tiny. We, just to kind of announce it, if you guys don't follow us on Facebook or Twitter or anything, I am super anal retentive. So last night, a peek behind the curtain, we're recording this Wednesday, July 17th. Jesus. And last night, on July 16th, I spent a very long amount of time, revamping the episode titles and the episode categories. So, up until this point, we have had categories for episodes where each episode, like if it was a review of a movie or show that was adapted from a Stephen King work, it would just be a Todash episode. If it was a novel review that wasn't connected to the Dark Tower, it would be Merlin's Grapefruit. So basically, it would have sections or categories specifically like a cute Dark Tower reference for separate categories and stuff. I don't know why I did that, guys. Like, every time we record an episode, I would have to think, like, wait, this is a Doorway Cave episode because we're talking about news. It's like, wait, why is a Doorway Cave episode that and not like Todash? Or why is Todash and Doorway Cave is Doorway Cave? So I just went ahead and dropped it. Like, that's done. We're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
So if you go to the archive on TowerJunkiesPod.com/archive, you will see all the new categories. Basically, it's going to be novel, novella, short story, movie, TV, like very streamlined and everything. And I have updated every episode title in the show notes of like most, if not all, of the episodes on the podcast feed to reflect that and have the new category links and everything. So enjoy that. And I was very sleepy today because it was a long night last night. But I'm very happy that we finally have that streamlined and everything. And, so Tiny, as a, how did you feel about the categories?
I thought the way you did it previously was just too confusing, frankly.
Yeah.
Like I could never remember what everything was.
Same.
So yeah, I like the streamlined.
Me too.
Thing.
Me too.
Yeah.
And like that's the thing because. Like, okay, in terms of podcasting, we've been podcasting for like 6 years now. We've talked about that before. My kind of philosophy with podcasts is like, if I would listen to what we are putting out there in the world, then we're doing okay. Because like, that's my barometer. Like, if I don't enjoy listening to the shows, I'm not going to do the shows anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, if I'm confused as hell about what the episode is based on some based on what could potentially be an obscure reference to the Dark Tower series, that takes up so much space in the title of it.
Yeah.
So like, if you go into your podcast app, or if you went into it and you looked, you would see like, episode 17, it would just say 017 Merlin's grapefruit and then like probably depending on the screen size, like the first 2 letters of what the actual episode is reviewing.
Oh my god.
So yeah, so there's that.
Right.
I do have a bunch of news stuff, but I'm gonna maybe eventually we'll do like a news roundup episode because that's a lot of stuff that would just eat up a lot of time, I think.
Okay.
There was one thing I wanted to mention, though. We'll go ahead and talk about this one news item. For Stephen King news, speaking of being sleepy at work because I spend so much time being anal retentive about, our podcast here, it was announced today that, Sleeping Beauties, the novel from last year by Stephen King and Owen King, is set for a 2020 comic book series adaptation from, I think it's IDW Comics or IDW Publishing. A friend of the show, Tony Troxel, shared that with us on Facebook. Just reading from Deadline, IDW has the series slated for a high-profile launch in early 2020. It's going to be a 10-part comic book epic by the international tandem of Canadian novelist Rio Yours and London-based artist and architect Alison Sampson. So, Tiny, I don't remember where we came down on Sleeping Beauties, but I remember kind of being a little bit lukewarm on it.
Yeah.
And to bordering on just not really liking it that much. How does this news relate to you? How do you feel about this news?
I'm really not enthused at all.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really like the book, hardly at all, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not eager to see any more content from it, frankly. Which I hate to say, because
Right.
more King should always be good King, I guess, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I'm just not enthused about it at all.
Interesting.
I might check it out still, but
I may assign it for you to check it out.
I just didn't care for the story.
Okay.
So I don't know.
That's fair. I didn't either. I did mention on Facebook that the novel has some interesting imagery that I think will make an intriguing, depending on what kind of art style they go with, I think it could be an interesting, it could have some interesting imagery on the page.
Yeah, that's true. It could be some good artwork.
Yeah. And I don't know, I'm mildly excited about it just because it'll give me an excuse to revisit the novel again and kind of see how I feel about it, like after some time has passed from the initial release and everything.
Okay.
So we'll report on that next year and everything. So Tiny, real quick before we get into Pet Sematary though, do you have any Stephen King check-ins? Anything recently that's come up about Stephen King that you have been consuming or interested in?
I do.
Okay, nice.
I do, yeah. I am 5 hours into the audiobook of Dr. Sleep.
Nice.
Which I have not read yet, so I am freaking loving it.
That is awesome.
I mean, full on loving it.
That is so good.
It's fantastic so far.
I am 3 hours into it.
Nice.
it's almost as if we have some special planned,
Right.
like, series of episodes that's going to come out in, like, September, or October. It'll be October.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so look forward to October when we actually have some semblance of consistency in the releases, and we're talking about stuff from, like, the heat wave in July. But
Yeah,
anyway,
right.
So, I'm enjoying it too. That's one check-in for me too.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll report back on that in October.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to mention that I have a couple other check-ins real quick. One is I finished re-listening to It on Audible. Man, that book. Like, it's wonderful. It is so, like, I was like very moved, like, at certain points in the story. Like, the last line of the section of the book titled The Final Interlude is like just like beautiful. Like, it almost reduced me to tears. And it was like, it's the perfect, like there's stuff after that, but like that's the perfect, like, thesis statement for the entire, for like the themes of the novel and stuff.
Nice.
Like, there are things that I picked up on that I wasn't too, no pun intended, not too keen on, like the pharmacist guy. But anyway, but it doesn't detract from it for me because it's just such an incredible novel.
Nice.
And on that same note, I have pre-ordered the new It Chapter 2 movie tie-in edition of It in paperback.
Cool.
I mentioned in a previous episode and in passing over the year, the last like 2 years, I'm just really excited about the idea of having two versions. I'm a mindless consumer. Having two, like, the collector in me is very excited to have two versions of It side by side that are both movie tie-in editions to the films. So I'm excited for that. I'll post pictures on Facebook and Instagram and stuff when it comes.
Sweet.
Yep. Yeah, so let's get into Pet Sematary then.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to do a non-spoiler review and spoiler review. So we will make sure to mention when we go into spoilers. We'll play a clip from the trailer when we transition into spoilers. And also, I have links timestamps in the show notes so you can navigate the spoilers. So, Pet Sematary, 2019. I'm going to go ahead and read the plot summary if that's cool with you.
Sure.
So, Dr. Lewis Creed and his wife Rachel relocate from Boston to rural Maine with their two young children. The couple soon discover a mysterious burial ground hidden deep in the woods near their new home. By the way, Tiny, I was a total dick and like didn't say anything about the It Chapter 2 thing. Are you going to buy the new edition of It, or is it something that, like, are you a collector of sorts for
I'm
that
not.
kind of stuff?
If there's something I'm going to collect, it'll be the Stephen King books. But I'm not really.
Okay.
I think I'm trying to get away from physical collections.
Yeah, that's fair.
But then you hear about, like, companies just deleting their stuff,
Yes.
like Google, or was it Google?
Microsoft, I think.
Microsoft, yeah, deleted their ebook thing, and people just lost stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that's messed up.
Did you hear me and Mike talk about that on Obsessive Viewer?
I haven't listened to that episode
Oh,
yet.
interesting. Well, spoiler alert, we talked about that on Obsessive Viewer.
Because iTunes is just gone now, or whatever.
Yeah,
and
they switched over, like, now it's like 3 different things or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So.
But yeah, that's interesting. On that same note, do you have any credits on Audible right now?
I don't, because I just bought Dr. Sleep with my most recent credit. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was thinking, and I may cut this out, I don't know. But I was thinking, it's stupid, it might be fun or something if, like, at one point, if the stars align and we each have, like, a credit that is burning a hole in our phones, we could pick a Stephen King novel, like, while we're recording, pick a novel that neither one of us have read or have on Audible and use both of our credits on that. And, like, that'd be, like, the next book we review.
Okay.
So, I don't know, something to think about for the future.
Sure.
So anyway, Pet Sematary 2019. I don't know how I'm going to edit this together because we went on a little tangent there, but I'll just reiterate the plot summary courtesy of IMDb. Dr. Lewis Creed and his wife Rachel relocate from Boston to rural Maine with their two young children. The couple soon discover a mysterious burial ground hidden deep in the woods near their home. Now, Tiny, I was a dick before, and I didn't mention when I did my check-in that I'm kidding. So stupid. Pet Sematary was directed by Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer. They previously worked on Scream, the TV series. They directed Starry Eyes, and I think at least 2 segments of the horror anthology movie Holidays. Writers for this movie were Matt Greenberg with a screen story credit. There you go. He was the screenwriter of Halloween H2O back in, when was that, 98? And then he also, for kind of Stephen King related stuff, he wrote the movie version of Mercy, which is based on King's short story Grandma. And he also... Did I already say 1408?
No, I don't think so.
He wrote 1408. He adapted 1408. And then the actual screenplay credit goes to Jeff Bueller. He was the creator and one of the writers for Night Flyers, which was on Sci-Fi for 1 season, based on the George R.R. Martin short story. And that also featured Sam Strike, who is going to be playing young Roland Deschain in the Dark Tower TV pilot on Amazon. So, yeah, do you want to talk about the stars of the movie?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Who's in the movie?
So the lead is Jason Clarke, who I think is a pretty fun actor to watch all the time.
Yeah.
He's kind of almost like a character actor, I think.
Yeah.
He's kind of in the background a lot.
He's the type of, like, it's this is gonna sound so shitty and diminutive of his talent, but he seems like a character actor who is trying so hard to be a leading man, but it's like, and like I feel like he has talent, like he's a talented actor, a very talented actor, but I feel like I don't know if it's something about like his look or just like his other factors. I don't know, like age or like where like the timing of his career and everything, but it just feels like I don't think he has had like a breakout leading role.
No.
But he has had so many opportunities.
Yeah.
And it's so weird that Hollywood hasn't given him that break.
Yeah, he's been in so much stuff too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then the female lead is Amy Seimetz. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right.
Sure.
I had never heard of her.
Me neither.
I don't think I've seen her in anything else. She was fine. The always enjoyable John Lithgow playing Judd Crandall.
Yes.
Perfect casting. And then the last most notable would be Jete Lawrence. I think that's how you say her name. Plays Ellie, the eldest daughter.
Yes.
I think the standout was actually Jete Lawrence as the daughter. I think she was great. I mean...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We'll
You
talk in
disagree.
spoilers about that.
Yeah, you kind of have to go into spoilers for it.
because there's something about it. I will say that they are... there were 4 cats used for church. And one of them just, within weeks of the movie premiering and everything, just died.
Yeah.
Kind of sad. Leo the cat
Definitely.
died.
Yeah.
I'll put a link in the show notes to the story on that. But yeah, great cat work.
Yeah.
Just really, they did a really good job of making the cats look grimy and threatening and everything. So, non-spoiler thoughts. So we, on this podcast, have reviewed Pet Sematary the novel. We both raved about it, I believe. And,
Yeah.
we both enjoyed the 1989 movie. How does this remake sit with you, Tiny? I'm so excited because I have no idea what you're about to say.
Yeah. I will say I think it's actually definitely inferior to the book, which that's expected, but I think it's actually inferior to the 80s film.
Inferior?
Inferior.
Okay.
I appreciated the 1980s, 89, I think it was, the 89 adaptation a little bit more. Having said that, I think this movie did a lot of things right.
Okay.
There's a lot that I liked about it, but they kind of broke the cardinal rule of a king adapting a king story, and that they they didn't focus on the characters enough and the character relationships, which, I mean, like that can result in disaster.
Yeah.
And I don't think this was a disaster, but it really, really hurt the movie a lot.
I totally agree. Like,
really hurt it.
The movie, it's not a long movie. It is,
right.
The runtime is about an hour and 40 minutes. And it is very brisk.
Feels like an hour.
It does.
It does.
And, you know, when you are talking about a movie and you are thinking like, man, this is a very like briskly paced thing. Like usually that can be a pretty positive thing. But here it's like, it's brisk because there's not a lot of meat on the bones of the characters. Like there are things here and there, but it feels like it's just setting things up for plot convenience and for just atmosphere, just as to have something, because it feels like the big like money shots of the movie are like the cats being creepy or the cat being creepy, and like the actions of certain characters rather than what is compelling them to take those actions.
Right.
And it's such a shame, really, honestly, to me. It does also break what I think is another cardinal rule of Stephen King adaptations, which I think is just the other side of the coin of what you said, is that it, instead of focusing on characters, it focused on horror. And like it is what we have said since the inception of this podcast, since we first started reading King, is like, people think Stephen King is a horror writer. They think that he writes scary stories.
Right.
That is the public perception of him. But what he does is he writes really interesting character pieces that puts these ordinary but flawed and complex characters into extraordinary, supernatural, otherworldly situations, and the melding of those two things consistently, for the most part, reaps rewards to the reader, because King is so adept at doing that. But when you adapt it, it's just like, okay, well, what's creepy about this story? Okay, this thing, so we need to make sure we show this. But then we won't have time to tell about this, but that's fine because they're just going to want to see this. Yeah. That's not what people want, at least I.
What's scary about this story is how the human condition applies to this extraordinary situation.
Totally. Yeah.
You know, a father will do anything to get back a killed...
What is lost.
What is lost, yeah. And this father is presented with that opportunity. Yeah. That's what's scary. It's not the fact, all the other stuff that you think is scary. That's what's beautiful about his stories and amazing about his stories is... It's the human element is typically what's scarier than the monster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And this movie completely missed that mark.
It really did. Yeah. And it's such a shame. Like there are some moments in the movie where I thought like, okay, they're doing some very interesting things that are dancing around this type of storytelling in an interesting way. Like there are some choices that they make where I'm like, I can see on paper where that makes sense in terms of adapting Stephen King. But there are other parts where I'm just like, okay, that's, I wouldn't say borderline gratuitous, but it's like the only reason that that's effective is because the makeup department went all out on it. And it's not because of the action of what someone's doing. Okay. And that's just kind of the tricky part of that. What did you think of Jason Clarke as a performer in it?
I think he's really good, and I think as far as like dialogue and character progression, I think he had a little bit to work with in this movie. Yeah. And I think he stretched it really far. And that's a credit to him. Yeah. But I would have preferred to see him working off the script from the 1989 movie because he would have been really good, and it would have been a much better character and a more enjoyable adaptation of Louis Creed. So he's great. Any flaws with the character or with the performance, I don't credit to him. I think it's a shortcoming of the script.
I agree. He, like you said, he does stretch out what is, by all accounts, not enough character development in the script, but he stretches it out to make it at least convincing. Yes. Yeah. Whereas, like, I feel like the writing is really where the movie falters quite a bit throughout it.
Yeah.
Not only in setting up certain things, like there are some very significant changes from the book, which we'll get to in spoilers, but and even from the in 1989 movie, which was pretty faithful to the novel anyway. But there are some pretty big departures and pretty big changes. Some of them I was actually okay with. I don't know why we're dancing around spoilers since it was revealed in the freaking trailer.
Yeah.
Still so bitter about that. It's funny because we're recording this the night before they release the next trailer for It Chapter 2. I am going to try to avoid that like the plague.
Yeah.
Because I've already seen the first trailer and I liked it, but I'm already going to see it. I love this story. I don't want to see how they're going to change it and then reveal it in the trailer so that it's spoiled for the movie. But anyway, I digress. I wanted to say I digest. So some of the writing, some of the choices, like there are there's characterization that is done like some characterization in the movie is done in an opposite way from what it's done in the book. Maybe that's not the right way to phrase it. It's basically instead of having a couple of characters like connect in a certain way, they have two different characters connect in a different way, and that throws things off for the whole movie for me.
Okay.
I'll talk more about that in spoilers also. But John Lithgow, he's just got that stoic kind of grandfatherly or fatherly kind of energy to him. So like I think that he also did quite well with a script that didn't do him much favors.
He had like nothing.
Yeah.
To hardly work with at all.
He had exposition.
Yeah.
And faux character development for his backstory.
Yeah.
But he delivered the lines well. Like I detected more emotion out of him than what the script would have otherwise necessitated for him.
I think Judd Crandall was the biggest drop, was the biggest issue as far as character development in this adaptation.
Yeah.
Because I mean he's so great in the book, and I think the 1989 adaptation he was really enjoyable as well.
Yeah,
I think he was the best part of the movie. I can't remember that actor's name.
Yep. It's like Ed Gwynn.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I almost said Ed Gein.
So he was great, and that like, I really like that performance and what they did with that character in that adaptation. But that was. Any quality from the book and that original adaptation were completely missing from this movie.
Totally.
I mean, yeah.
And on one hand, I'm glad that they didn't. I'm glad that like Lithgow didn't like try to do the Maine accent or anything.
Really?
Because as much as I love that, because that's so intrinsically part of the character for me, like having like Michael C. Hall in the audiobook or Ed Gwynn in the 1989 movie, like doing such stellar performances of that. It's like, I don't need a third one.
Really?
Like I already feel like he's been done. Like that accent is out there, and I don't see how Lithgow, as much as a talented guy as I think he is, I don't think it is something that can be topped or it would have been more distracting.
Really?
Yeah.
I missed it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It probably would have been a benefit to be distracted by the kind of shitty writing of giving him nothing.
Right.
Like his biggest piece of character development is telling a little girl about his wife.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
So Jete Lawrence, we'll have to talk about that in spoilers. That's fine.
Yeah.
Amy Seymetz. As Rachel, like Rachel's development in the movie, I feel like that character stayed as true as any other character in the movie to their book counterpart.
Mm-hmm.
They made some interesting choices with the backstory that I think it's funny because on one hand, it's like it is patently an example of like, okay, well, this is a scarier version of that, so let's do that instead of having the nuance of why it's traumatizing to her. Although that's where they put the most emotional resonance into the script, is her backstory with her and Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was effective, but what I think I could have gotten more from, like, I think the script, at least the dialogue, could have been stronger, is in that scene that is so pivotal to the movie, where they're talking about the Pet Sematary. It's at the beginning of the movie. Lewis and Rachel are talking to Ellie. Ellie's asking about the Pet Sematary and how, like, asking about death. And it's such a pivotal point in the story because it's supposed to set up this dichotomy where Louis Creed he's a medical professional. He doesn't believe that there's anything after we die or anything, whereas Rachel is someone who is still traumatized by trauma in her past involving death, that she does not want Ellie to be, subjected to anything about that. Now, that's a very compelling plot device for the story. In the movie, like, that scene bugged me so much, because it felt like they didn't know or didn't spend enough time punching up the dialogue, because it just came across like, okay, well, I don't know what happens when you die, and well, we don't have to worry about that because everyone's young and everything, it's fine. And it's like, I made the kind of snide remark to myself in my apartment alone, that I was like, okay, so the basic, like, disagreement between Lewis and Rachel in this movie is that, like, they just don't want, like, Rachel just doesn't want Ellie to even be aware that death is possible.
Yeah.
Rather than the more complicated question of, like, what happens when we die and what happens to the people we leave behind. Like, that is such an interesting, like, ground to mine for drama and everything. And it takes it down to just the most rudimentary.
It's very vanilla.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anything about Rachel or the plot and non-spoilers and everything?
Not in non-spoilers. Okay. In the spoilers section, I think I'll talk about her a little more, Rachel.
Okay. Yeah. How'd you feel about the set design and everything?
That's one of the things I think they actually nailed in this movie, that I was pretty into the movie for that reason.
Okay.
The set of the Pet Sematary was really well done. Like, okay. It was creepy, in my opinion anyways. I thought it was creepy, it was eerie, and it felt natural. It looked really good. And I think even, like, just the home that the Creeds move into is it feels like a rural Maine house, and the highway just felt like one of those rural highways. I don't know. I think the sets and everything were just really well done. Mm-hmm. And then the actual burial ground beyond the cemetery was creepy. I mean, it was swampy and just well done. I think that was all very effective for me.
I agree. There's it's such an interesting set anyway. Like, in the story and every iteration of the story, it's such an interesting, like, set. Like, these two houses separated by giant yards, separated by a highway that is very active with massive trucks that drive very fast. Like, it's a terrifying, like, area, in a very unconventional way. And I really enjoyed the set design and everything. The makeup effects also of certain elements in it was really good. A little, like, it really pushed the envelope as far as, like, what I want to see, but, like, it was graphic without being gratuitous or too much for me. How did you feel about, like, that aspect of it?
Yeah, that was good too. That's kind of hard to talk about, not in spoilers, but yeah, makeup was nicely done. Especially, I can't imagine trying to put makeup on a cat.
Yeah,
I'd imagine that's tough.
Yeah.
Should I ask Pizza?
You should. Like, do you see the scratches on my hand? That's just from trying to pet this fucking thing. Just kidding. I love my cat, official mascot of Obsessive Viewer Podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. She just loves me so much that she just wants to bite and scratch me.
Right.
It's so adorable. So yeah, and final thing, what did you think of the cats?
Yeah, they were good. They were cute, pretty kitties.
Yeah. Does it make you want a cat?
It doesn't. No.
Does it make you want to kill my cat and then bury it so it comes back?
I'm going to take the fifth on that one.
Okay, good. Good.
It's funny. There's a review on the top review on IMDb. Voice crack there. It's a 5 out of 10, and the title is "Sometimes Dead is Meh."
That's pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, any parting thoughts on non-spoilers before we go into spoilers for Pet Sematary 2019? And if not, overall thoughts without spoiling.
Like I said, the movie did a lot of things right, but it screwed up the one or two biggest cardinal rules of adapting a Stephen King story, and that just kind of pretty much ruins it, or just, makes it forgettable.
Yeah.
And it's really a shame, because this story has a lot of potential. I would have, if you did a mashup of the 1989 adaptation and this one, I think you have a pretty darn good movie.
Yeah.
Not, earth-shattering, amazing movie, not Shawshank Redemption good.
Right.
But a movie that I would probably buy and watch multiple times.
Yeah. It's funny because I didn't really realize this until after I kind of got away from this movie. And I think I saw a couple of hot takes online. Last year's movie Hereditary is a better it's the best version of a Pet Sematary movie that we'll ever get. And there's nothing it's not. That's not to say that Hereditary borrows anything from it, but it is a much more intense and interesting exploration. Hereditary's exploration of grief and the actions of people experiencing grief is on par with the level of that same thing in the book Pet Sematary. And that's something that I don't think either movie has been able to attain, either adaptation has been able to attain.
Well put.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that'll be non-spoilers. It's funny, because we're both on Letterboxd, Obsessive Viewer and Obsessive Tiny on Letterboxd. Great, social media for movie lovers. So, I watched this for the first time since the theater today. I did not write a review on the check-in when I saw it in the theater. And so I haven't gone back and seen what I rated it when I saw it in the theater. I rated it right out of the gate, out of the theater. My original rating was 3.5 stars.
Really?
Out of 5.
Wow.
And I saw that and I was like, is that a mistake? Because I just finished watching this for the second time and it's a 2-star movie for me. 2 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
So I don't know what my headspace was. Maybe we can talk more about it in spoilers, what I liked and didn't like in the moment, how I feel about it now. But yeah, it's a 2 out of 5 stars, unfortunately.
Nice.
And I do prefer the 1989 movie, but overall, I think Hereditary handled the themes of Pet Sematary a lot better than either Pet Sematary movie has. So
yeah, I gave it 2.5.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're going to go ahead and go into spoilers for Pet Sematary 2019. If you haven't seen it and don't want to be spoiled, go ahead and turn this off and come back when you watch it. It's available on all the digital platforms and DVD and Blu-ray. So, warning on. Here's a clip from the trailer.
That cat was dead.
That brings things back.
Sure.
I know what you're thinking of doing. But they don't come back the same.
And we are spoiling Pet Sematary 2019. So Tiny, first things first, the change.
Yeah.
So in the novel and in the 1989 movie, Gage is the one that gets killed.
Mm-hmm.
And Lewis resurrects him by grave digging and all that.
Mm-hmm.
This movie swaps that. So it's Ellie that gets killed. And I made an entire episode of the podcast where I was ranting about the fact that they showed that in the trailer.
Yeah.
And when I saw the way that it was handled in the movie, I genuinely wanted to, if I had free time, I would want to track down whoever was in charge of cutting that trailer. And I would I would want to lodge a formal complaint to their supervisor and hope that they never get on the fucking editing machine in this town again. But just because that was such a cheap marketing ploy that deprived us of something that could have been really interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Because, okay, when you see it in the trailer, it's one of my big gripes was that the trailer shows that Ellie goes into the road to get Church because he comes back, and then is run over. That, I thought was interesting, if that's how it happened in the movie, because it would have been interesting to see how that affects Lewis's guilt, because he indirectly caused it by bringing him back. They don't explore it that way too much, really, at all. But the thing that really, really pisses me off and makes me want to contact that person's supervisor is the fact that the way it's done in the movie is it is designed to make us think that Gage is going to die. It is designed to make us to trick us into thinking that it's going to follow the source material.
Right.
And so had they not revealed that in the trailer, I would have been a lot more into the story and the rest of the movie, because I would have just been so gobsmacked by it.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you react to that development, and how much did you remember from the trailer? Did you know about it ahead of time?
Yeah, I knew about it ahead of time, okay. And I was equally as... Well, I don't know about equally as upset, but I was just like, why? What the hell are you thinking? That was a horrible decision to put it in the trailer.
Yeah.
As far as, making that a part of the movie, choosing Ellie to be the child who died, I think it was kind of interesting. I actually think it's, and like you said, I think they could have really explored the idea that Lewis was somewhat at fault, but because of the way in which she died, I thought that was really interesting. It doesn't make a lot of sense for a 9-year-old girl to just wander in the street. She should know better,
right? And
so the way how they she was going after Church, that was clever. I thought that was genuinely clever, and that was a cool idea, and I think it kind of worked actually. It kind of worked. Okay. It kind of worked for me.
Nice.
The fact. The whole way it happened, where the trailer disconnected from the truck, is fucking ridiculous. Just from a technical aspect. I worked in the trucking industry for 2 years. That does not happen.
Yeah.
Does not happen. Those kingpins where they're connected are rated for 1 million pounds of force, literally.
The Stephen King pins.
Yeah, Stephen King pins. So yeah, that was just ridiculous. As I saw that, I audibly laughed out loud. But it was actually... With that minor quabble, it was kind of a cool scene.
Okay.
Pretty CGI-ish and looked a little shiny.
Yeah.
But I could appreciate it. Plus, so the Ellie died from blunt force trauma, and there's zero blood in that. I was like, she would be fucking mangled.
Right.
Which I don't really want to see that.
Right.
But if you're gonna do it, do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She was gently lying on her side in the grass, dead. I was like, okay.
I feel like maybe their makeup budget was exceeded with
something.
Victor Pascal.
Yeah. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it was kind of a cool creative decision, and I think it kind of worked for me.
Yeah.
And I think the larger reason why it worked is because I think it's interesting that. Excuse me. The kid who was brought back in the novel and in the movie, Gage is 2, 2.5.
3, yeah.
Is he 3? Okay.
He's barely able to talk.
Right, not really talking yet.
Yeah.
Doesn't have ideas.
Right. He hasn't started his own podcast.
Right. Yeah. And that's fine. I'm not saying that was a bad decision, but it's interesting that in this movie, we have a 9-year-old girl who does have ideas and is like can talk in complete sentences and stuff like that. And so I thought it was actually kind of cool, the crazy shit she was saying after she came back.
Yeah.
I thought she was creepy as shit, and I thought Jete Lawrence, or however you say her name, did a really good job.
I think she did a great job for the most part.
Okay.
I feel like I was taken out of it a little bit, and I feel like a dick just criticizing this young actress's performance, but that's what we do here. But
yeah.
But it felt like I couldn't really buy the creepiness in certain scenes, like when she's talking to like Judd and like taunting him and everything. I felt like there was a somewhat of a lack of sinisterism.
Okay.
There was like, it wasn't as sinister as I would have liked it to be.
Okay.
Because it just felt like she was just like this little girl like making fun of this guy.
Yeah.
But I will say that maybe my favorite part of the movie was her coming back and her being in like him laying in bed with her, and like he's just like saying like, "Go to sleep, Ellie," and like he's just staring like blankly. It's like that's like the most characterization we got of Louis Creed.
Yeah.
Like him wrestling with what he's done, and like the next day where she's wearing like she's wearing the dress that I think it was the dress she was buried in, and she's dancing around to like I think it was the Nutcracker Suite, and like she's like having these spurts where she's like throwing stuff down, and like it's like she's kind of an animal in that respect a little bit.
Yeah.
Like that. I would have loved it if there was more of that.
Yeah.
Like, because at that point, we're just like, it's on the fast track to the ending. But if it had allocated some time to really study the, like, Lewis with his resurrected daughter and, like, grappling with what he's done, like, it could have been really interesting. There's
a lot of meat on that bone.
Yeah.
And we got some.
Yep.
But yeah, it could have been expanded upon. Yep. Just like most of the other parts of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Can I tell you my biggest gripe with the movie?
Sure.
Even bigger than the reveal in the trailer that they changed it and everything. Like, for the record, I don't care that they changed it. Like, I think that it makes sense that they made Ellie the one that died, because the directors even said, like, it's easier to get a performance out of an older young woman than a barely talkative young actor.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, quick sidebar, like, they had to have intentionally cast Gage to look almost exactly like the kid from the first one.
I had the exact same thought.
I was like, this is uncanny.
Has to be intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cute as a button.
Yes.
Glad he didn't die.
Right.
But
or did he?
Or did he? So my biggest gripe, like, and this happens, like, this is something that bugged me from the outset, and it's something that maybe I couldn't recover from the movie, or from this choice, but one of the biggest parts of the novel, in the original movie, but mostly the novel, is the connection, the paternal connection between Judd and Lewis.
Yep.
And the father, like, there is a great line in like the first like few pages, I think I referenced it in our review, where it's like Lewis says something like it says something like, Lewis never thought that he would meet a father figure this late in his life, but then he met Judd Crandall. And like, their dynamic in the book is so strong, and their connection is so like strong that you believe why Judd would let him in on the Pet Sematary thing. Why Lewis would be attracted to using the Pet Sematary, and that struggle between them. The movie does not do that. Like, the movie makes Judd bond with Ellie, and we don't get a scene with Lewis and Judd until they are having dinner. And it's like, oh, so they've already met. Okay, that's cool.
Right.
And so, like, that, at the end, like, toward the end, when Lewis drugs him, or drugs him, I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, that's, sure. It's like, like everything in that last act, it's very quick and very brisk. But it's just like, there's no, it's like John Lithgow, he's a great actor, but like, he's just reciting these words because they have no meaning to them, because they didn't properly connect those characters. How did you feel about that change?
Yeah, that was really egregious.
Mm-hmm.
And it stuck out like a sore thumb, I think.
Yeah.
Because it would make sense. It makes sense structurally that they would become friends.
Yeah.
And there'd be a paternal thing there. And so that's why it's so gratifying in the book and in the movie. And that's why it's one of my favorite parts of the story. And it's, like you said, it's non-existent in the movie.
Yeah.
They're like acquaintance neighbors.
Exactly. Like,
and
even
that's just such a ball drop.
it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like Judd showing Lewis Church's dead body, it's like, even that is like, it's nothing, because it's because Judd has a connection to Ellie. And it's like, I just don't get it. It's like, it seems just so surface level that it's like, okay, well, we're going to kill Ellie. Like, Lewis isn't dying, so why should he bond with him? Like, it'll be more effective if, like, Judd experiences the loss of Ellie, even though this is about the family of the Creeds and grief and everything. And that's just a very bizarre choice.
Yeah.
Having said that, one choice that I thought was an interesting change, but again, is just strictly horror-based, was Zelda and the Dumbwaiter. I thought that was creepy as hell.
Yeah.
But there's no real payoff to that.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even get the payoff of... I would have liked them to have that altercation at the funeral between Lewis and Rachel's parents, but we don't even get that. We get, like, Rachel's dad, like, sneering at him for, like, a frame.
Right.
That's about it.
Yeah. That was nothing.
Yeah.
I almost would have rather have them leave it out.
Yeah. And they use that strictly to, I think they pretty much, the only, like, the animosity between Lewis and Rachel's parents isn't used for any, like, deep characterization or anything. It's used to contrive a reason for Rachel to leave with Gage and leave Lewis home alone soon. So, like, days after Ellie's death. And it's
right.
It's a contrivance. It comes across as just being super just plot, or script, like, just something that we needed in the script.
Right.
To usher in the last act.
Yeah. And yeah, the Zelda thing was, it didn't, in the book, it's to develop the character of Rachel, and it's really well done.
Yeah.
And even in the 89 adaptation, pretty decently done. But it was, you're right, it was to serve the purpose of horror and to try to get some jump scares.
Yeah.
The whole dumbwaiter thing, and then Rachel having the hallucination where she has, her body is contorting and stuff like that. It's not that it sucked or it wasn't effective in any way. It just wasn't necessary, and it seemed a little out of place.
So out of place. Like, when we get those scenes with Rachel, like, there's a scene that just sticks out so much because it's just, she's having that vision, or like she's in the bathroom or something and she has a vision outside of the hallway. And I'm just like, like, did they not get the memo that this isn't a haunted house movie?
Right.
Like,
that was
like
my
The Conjuring or something.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. I was like, where's this coming from? Like, how is she having these visions? Like, what is this? This isn't in the book. It's like,
no,
this force is not at work in this story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she, like, again, it's used as a contrivance to get her out of the picture so that Lewis can go to it. But, like, also, if you think too hard about this, and I don't think this is nitpicking because, I mean, come on, try a little harder. But, like, okay, she's saying, like, I keep thinking about her. I can't stay in this house. And it's established that she's freaked out by the house anyway. But, like, the alternative is that she goes home to her parents with Gage, and, like, we get the scene where she's sitting feet away from the thing that it has been haunting her, the dumbwaiter.
Yeah.
Because she blames herself for her sister's death and everything, and, like, she's haunted by it. I'm like, is this really the best alternative? Like, did you really split up your family in, like, their most grief-stricken time so that you can sit reflectively in front of the thing that has been tormenting you about about death and your sister? Like, it felt so weird, and it did not connect with me from a narrative perspective.
Yeah, it was out of place.
Yeah.
But then another change, and I don't mean to skip ahead, but
Oh, no.
The very end and like what happens to the characters, Lewis and Rachel and Ellie have all been dead and reincarnated.
Yeah.
And then they're approaching Gage, who's locked in the car. That was very much like a horror movie ending.
Yes.
But I kind of dug the shit out of it, frankly. I thought it was pretty cool.
Okay. I am so back and forth with it.
Really?
And like, it's funny because when I saw it in the theater, I was like, I don't think I like that. Cause again, it's just horror.
It is, yeah.
But I remember, like, as I sat with it, I rationalized it a little better in my head, but I'll be honest, I completely forgot what that rationalization was.
Gotcha.
So, like, I'm just kind of okay with it. But there's an alternate ending that if you go onto Vudu and watch it, like, I recommend watching it.
Okay.
That blows that out of the water.
Really?
Honestly. Like, it's different from the book.
Okay.
And it's so, like, the last shot of this alternate, I won't give it away, but, the last shot of it is like it belongs in a better movie. The last shot of the alternate ending belongs in the movie that we get of Pet Sematary, where they actually honor, like, the story of a family ripped apart by grief and a father who will do anything to piece his family back together, and like how he struggles with internalizing grief and everything.
Okay.
But it's such an interesting ending, and I don't understand why they didn't do it. It's haunting too. It's like creepy. But yeah, it just felt like, and that ending the ending we got just felt like a zombie movie kind of ending.
Yeah. I can see that. I can see that people had an issue with it or something, but it was just effective for me. I thought it was really effective. And it's not, since they screwed up the whole character arcs anyways, I think that's why I enjoyed it. But if they had been truer to the characters and still went with that ending, I wouldn't have liked it as much.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. If that makes sense.
Well, here's kind of my kind of hot take of the entire movie. It feels like they had, like, it's like they set out to remake or readapt Pet Sematary. And in doing that, they chose to look at the iconography of the 1989 movie and check off what, like piece together something around that iconography. Like, okay, the Achilles tendon shot, we need that. We need Zelda with the like spinal meningitis stuff. We need that to be uber creepy. We need Victor Pascal to be a creepy apparition, and we need him to have like severe makeup effect and everything. Like, this is the stuff we need. We need a creepy cat to terrorize Lewis and everything. But it's like, that's at the sacrifice of, okay, we don't really need a like father figure kind of storyline between these two characters, because, you know, one of them is like, he's like, Lewis isn't the one that's going to die, and we don't need that depiction of grief, because, I don't know, fucking Hereditary did it better 6 months ago at the time of the filming of it. But yeah, I don't know. It really kind of bugged me on that front. But
yeah,
kind of there's something to be said about the imagery of the ending with Gage in the car that I'm kind of, I guess, going to come to terms with a little bit. Maybe if I view it as like the grief of losing Ellie is what's ripped apart the family, and like them all dying is like the family unit dying and collapsing in on itself in the face of tragedy. But it's just like that. I feel like that's too much of a stretch for it, and like how that will adversely affect the younger member of the family. But even that's a stretch, and that's giving a lot of leeway to writing that fairly wasn't, to be honest, wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yep. To kind of wind down, any other thoughts on it?
Not really. Not to jump out. I think I kind of said my piece on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, I own it on Vudu. It's a 2-star movie for me. I don't know. I wish it was better, but I don't know. And again, like, it's very brisk, and there's no, like, the character development isn't there. Like, it goes, like, it goes from point to point without really having any, like, forward momentum for the characters. Even when Lewis is, like, okay, when Ellie dies, it's like very quickly it's like as soon as we see the funeral scene, we need to establish that Rachel is going to leave. And so it's like a foregone conclusion that, okay, Lewis is going to go dig her up and everything. So we don't really need to show him grieving or show him wrestling with that. We just need to see his wife leave at that time, and we need to see him drug Judd, who is almost conscious enough of like knowing what he's doing, but not really. It just felt just so, no pun intended, lifeless. And
right. I agree. Yeah, it's at least the book's really good.
Yep, I will always adore that freaking novel, and
Great book.
So incredible. Like, where is it on my top 19? I don't know. It's up there.
Yeah.
I think it's like number 3. Oh no, it's number 6. So it's in my top 6. But yeah. So
I think I'd actually like recommend the 89 version.
Me too.
Which I'd probably give that like 3 stars.
Yeah,
I gave this 2.5.
It doesn't age that well. But
yeah.
It's a more effective story.
Definitely. Yeah. Which is a shame. Kind of shocking.
Same here.
Yeah.
I agree. Maybe at some point they'll remake it or put a Pet Sematary sticker on Hereditary.
Yeah. Nice.
So I think that'll do it for this episode of Tower Junkies. Thank you guys so much for listening to us and everything. We have a lot of fun stuff in the pipeline. What are we doing? We're doing the Shining series. We're going to be talking about the novel, the movie, the miniseries, Dr. Sleep, all in the lead up to the Dr. Sleep movie. Now we have that recorded and it is on record, so we have to do that. But we are in the process of doing that, and then we've got other stuff planned down the road, so it's going to be fun. So let us know what you thought of Pet Sematary 2019, if you remember it from the several months ago when it was in the theaters. You know where to find us and everything. You'll have all the information in the outro. Any parting thoughts, Tiny?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, in that case, guys, long days and pleasant nights.
And may you have twice the number.
And now, here's a short clip from our Patreon exclusive RSS feed. To hear the full clip and more exclusive Patreon content, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and become a patron at the minimum rate of $1 per month. Thank you and enjoy. It felt like, at least in the first half or so of the season, it felt like the show was being less dependent on like the era or pop culture references, as my memory of the last 2 seasons were.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's more concentrated on just creating this backdrop of the 80s for these characters that they have developed so well to play in.
Yeah.
And I love that. Now, that's not to say that there isn't very overt 80s references and pop culture references. There is I don't know if you've gotten into it yet, there's a running, like, not gag, but there's a running, like, thing that is definitely, like, it's like this season's big, like, overt, like, 80s reference kind of thing.
Okay.
Tower Junkies is edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. For a full archive of our episodes, go to TowerJunkiesPod.com/archive. You can also like our Facebook page at Facebook.com/TowerJunkiesPod and follow us on Twitter at TowerJunkiesPod. If you enjoy the show, please take a couple minutes to leave us a rating and a quick review on Apple Podcasts. This is the easiest way to support what we do, and all it costs is just a little bit of your time. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a PayPal donation at TowerJunkiesPod.com/donate, Or support us on Patreon for recurring donations and access to commentary tracks and B-roll audio recorded exclusively for patrons at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or you can simply search for Obsessive Viewer at tpublic.com. For information about our annual live event showcasing short horror films from local filmmakers, check out shocktoberinirvington.com. And for an archive of all our events, as well as news about potential future events, head over to obsessiveviewer.com/live. For more podcast content, you can find our flagship movie and TV review and discussion show, The Obsessive Viewer Podcast, at obsessiveviewer.com and on Twitter at obsessiveviewer. You can also find Anthology, Matt's solo podcast covering The Twilight Zone, and other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows at anthologypod.com and OV Anthology Pod on Twitter. And finally, check out The Secular Perspective, Tiny's side project podcast, which tackles current events and life's big questions from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda at thesecularperspective.com. Music for the podcast is provided with permission from Fingers T on YouTube. Additional bumper music is provided courtesy of As Good As It Gets, which can be found at facebook.com/asgoodasitgetsband. Thank you so much for listening. Long days and pleasant nights.
Kitty!